The $600 million corporate scandal, Tyco. In the early 2000s, Tyco International was one of the largest companies in the world. It operated in more than 100 countries. It employed over 250,000 people. And at its peak, Tyco was worth over $100 billion. But inside the company, something strange was happening. Millions of dollars were disappearing. Not through complicated accounting tricks. Not through hidden offshore funds. But through something far simpler. Something almost unbelievable. Tyco's CEO was spending company money. Like it was his personal bank account. Private jets. Luxury apartments. Multi-million-dollar parties. And the most shocking part? At first, nobody stopped him. The rise Tyco International was founded in 1960. But the company didn't become a giant until the 1990s. Under CEO Dennis Kozlowski, Tyco began an aggressive acquisition strategy. Instead of slowly growing, Tyco bought hundreds of companies. Electronics, security systems, medical equipment, fire protection. If a business existed, Tyco wanted it. By the late 1990s, the strategy seemed brilliant. Revenue exploded. Investors loved the growth. Wall Street praised Kozlowski as a corporate genius. Tyco became a conglomerate powerhouse. But behind the scenes, the system created something dangerous. A CEO with enormous power, and almost no oversight. The first signs. At first, the spending looked small. A company loan here. A corporate expense there. Executives often receive perks. Luxury travel. Housing allowances. Bonuses. Nothing unusual. But inside Tyco, those perks began to grow. Then they grew again. And eventually, they became extreme. One of the most famous examples came from a birthday party. A birthday party for Kozlowski's wife. Held on the island of Sardinia. The cost? About $2 million. The theme included ice sculptures. An enormous statue of Michelangelo's David. Except this one had something unusual. Vodka poured from the statue, directly into guests' glasses. And investigators later discovered something shocking. Much of that party was paid for by Tyco. The mechanism. The real question wasn't the parties. The real question was, how was this even possible? The answer was hidden inside Tyco's compensation and loan system. Tyco had a program allowing executives to borrow money from the company. These were supposed to be legitimate loans. Executives could use them for stock purchases or personal financial planning. But at Tyco, the rules slowly began to break down. Loans were issued with little documentation. Some loans had no repayment schedule. Others were quietly forgiven. In other words, money left the company. And it never came back. Over time, investigators estimated that Kozlowski and other executives took more than $600 million through bonuses, loans, and unauthorized compensation. The cracks appeared for years. Investors barely noticed. Tyco was growing. Profits were rising. The stock price looked strong. But then, something changed. In 2002, rumors began spreading on Wall Street. Questions started appearing. Why were executives selling large amounts of stock? Why were corporate loans so large? Why were financial disclosures so unclear? And once investors began looking closer, the story started unraveling. The collapse. In June 2002, the scandal exploded. CEO Dennis Kozlowski resigned. Soon after, prosecutors announced criminal charges. The allegations were stunning. Executives had secretly taken hundreds of millions of dollars. Not through clever accounting schemes, but through direct misuse of company funds. Corporate art purchases. Luxury apartments. Extravagant personal spending. Paid for by shareholders. Investors panicked. Tyco's stock price collapsed. Billions of dollars in market value disappeared. One of the largest corporate empires of the era was suddenly fighting for survival. The legal battle became one of the most famous corporate trials of the decade. Prosecutors argued that Kozlowski treated Tyco like his personal piggy bank. Defense lawyers argued something very different. They claimed the compensation was approved. They claimed the board knew about the payments. And they claimed the spending was simply part of executive pay. The first trial ended in chaos. A mistrial. But prosecutors tried again. And this time, the verdict was clear. Kozlowski and CFO Mark Schwartz were found guilty. Both received long prison sentences. The psychology. What makes the Tyco case so fascinating isn't just the money. It's how slowly the behavior escalated. At first, the perks seemed normal. A loan here. A bonus there. Then the numbers grew larger. And larger. Until eventually the company itself became the source of unlimited wealth. This is a pattern seen in many corporate scandals. Power concentrates at the top. Oversight weakens. And slowly, the rules begin to disappear. Not overnight, but step by step. The aftermath. Tyco survived the scandal. New leadership took control. Corporate governance rules were strengthened. The company was eventually broken into several separate businesses. But the damage was enormous. Billions lost. Reputations destroyed. And a powerful reminder of something investors often forget. A company can appear strong on the outside, while something very different is happening inside. Lesson: the Tyco scandal wasn't about complex financial engineering. It was about unchecked power. When executives control too much, and oversight disappears, even the largest companies can become vulnerable. Because sometimes, the biggest risk to a corporation isn't the market. It's the people running it. And by the time investors realize it, the damage is already done.